when you realize that life revolves around patterns. This is something that I've realized from a very young age, that people's behaviors, things that surrounds you, always seem to have a pattern. A pattern that repeats itself, a pattern that is almost a loop that's continually repeating. And when you really start to dig deep into these patterns, you tend to learn a lot about yourself and life, and even others. One of the things that I've noticed with people is that they always try to play the victim. They don't want to take any responsibility for their actions. It's always somebody else's fault. Because I think humans have an issue with really reflecting and going inward and trying to understand their behavior. I'm the first to admit that my life has been one massive cluster F. But in that big cluster F, I have learned so much about myself and about other people. And I am very analytical, so I tend to always understand or see these patterns and behaviors in people all the time. I could almost predict people's behaviors and what they're going to do next. It's part of this big blue planet that, in my opinion, is some sort of programming, some sort of computerized programming that we all live in. Things in life are not as black and white as you may think they are. And when you really start to investigate the matter, you start to really understand how things work. It's pretty amusing, pretty interesting. There is absolutely nothing on this planet that doesn't have a set pattern to it, a set programming to it. And when you find the key to that, you start to predict and understand how life is about to unfold. People's words, their behaviors, their actions are very pro-rote and in a repetitive fashion. It's like, I always say, wait for it, here it comes, boom. It's not that I'm some sort of genius, it's you just follow the pattern and you will get what comes next. It's interesting how people love to throw stones. They love to say things. But they never really understand that they are the ones creating the problem. But it's easier for them to deal with life if they find themselves to be the victim. Because if they really took a hard look inside, they would understand that they are responsible for everything around them. That's how it works. But some people can't deal with pain. So it's easier to become the victim and blame everybody else. And it's always about them. People doing things to them. Newsflash: no one can do anything to you unless you allow them to. That's how it works. But the inability to deal with life, and there seems to be a lot of people this day and age that has that. They don't have coping mechanisms. They're not capable of dealing with life. They drown in a little glass of water. And it all stems down to poor parenting. Parents did not equip their children to be able to handle life. And not just, pro-rote teaching of things, because, you could teach you could give a person fish and let them eat for a day, or you could teach them how to fish so they could eat for a lifetime. Well, parents don't teach their children how to do things for a lifetime. Then you've got adults that walk with a limp. I believe empowering people is the most important thing that anyone can do for you. Empowering you to be able to deal with whatever comes your way. Because life is not going to be all rainbows and candy canes. There's a lot of terrible things that happen to people in life. And if you're unable to deal with that, you got a few things coming, you know? You really... So, what I'm trying to get at is, it's important, and like it's the most important thing that you could do for yourself as a human being, is to empower yourself. Learn how to deal with situations. And you may say, well, how do you do that, Mark? How do you learn how to deal with situations? How can you surpass the pain? How can you deal with the things that are hard to deal with? Well, the simple question is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite, or the answer, one bite at a time. You learn to analyze yourself and analyze life. You know, being analytical is something that will always serve you. You place the problem before you. You try to categorize solutions. You know, there's a solution A, B, or C. If this happens, I could do this or that. But if you just end up becoming frustrated and throw your hands up in the air and just say, I can't deal with things, then the cluster of chemicals that comes into your brain is not going to allow you to think or allow you to deal with things and find a plan or several plans that you could execute. It's almost like playing a game of chess. You have to literally think of the move that you're going to make and look at the different solutions that you could deal with. You'd be surprised how your brain will learn how to find solutions. But it's like a muscle. You got to work at it. Just don't throw your arms up in the air, and just don't be a victim, and don't give up, and don't, you know, just say, well, I can't do anything. This is the way I am. No, no one's the way. No one is any way. You could alter that way at any time you wish, because thoughts should not consume you. It's only a thought. A thought can't hurt you. Unless somebody's got a revolver on your face or anything that's going to cause you physical harm, a thought cannot cause you physical harm, only if you let it. Seriously, it's as simple as that. You negate the thought, you replace it with a new one. Our brains could be our own worst enemy. And that victim mentality will drown you. Step out of that victim mentality. Become the victor. Reprogram your thought process. And understand that a thought cannot hurt you. You could deactivate that thought at any point. And I know it's hard for a lot of you, because that's all you've ever known is your thought. But no one's ever taught you how to replace that thought with a more productive one, so that you could get yourself out of that flight or fight mentality. You know how Caesar, the dog whisperer guy, how he trains dogs? When a dog gets into this mode of barking, of being aggressive, and then he goes into this one tunnel vision type of mentality, how does Caesar get him out of that? He redirects it. That's the same thing you got to do with your thought. Redirect that thought so you could change from being unhappy to happy, from being guilty to non-guilty feelings, the feelings of guilt and all that stuff. You could do anything. You are the master of your universe, and you don't even know it, because you have not been given those tools. And that's how I function, as messed up of an individual that I am. I learned the power of thinking and how you can alter your thoughts to alter your world. Because your thoughts can make you, or your thoughts can break you. It's as simple as that. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. You don't need a degree from Yale. You don't need a degree from Harvard University to do these things. Just get to know who you are, what drives you, what inspires you. Get to learn how to redirect that little chemical interaction that's happening in your brain at the moment that you're all stuck there in that depressive mode, and that anger mode, and that frustration mode. In whatever mode that you get yourself into, learn that it is simple as to click your fingers like that. Whatever it takes for you to alter and change is what you got to do to redirect yourself. It's not that hard, really. You are the master of your universe. In the old days, they used to burn witches at the stake, or warlocks. And the reason they did this is because these religiosity people couldn't deal with people being empowered. So people that are empowered are known to be dangerous for others because they're not following the same status quo of the religiosity of whatever. Because we are rebels. And rebels and people that utilize their own powers were labeled witches and warlock. And were deemed evil, quote unquote. But it's the other way around. The witches and warlock were all part of nature, and we tap into abilities that we have, and we try to empower other people with those abilities. Unlike the religiosity folks that tried to take away your power, that try to imprison you with a belief system that couldn't give a rat's what about you. They just want to control you. I want to empower you. I want you to realize who you truly are and the abilities that you have. And that you don't have to be a victim. That you don't have to talk bad about other people to feel better about yourself. That is what we've been taught from a very young age. We've been taught to be a victim. We've been taught to point fingers at others. We've been taught to harass other people, fight other people. And you believe that that's going to make you feel better. And on the contrary, that will not. Another thing that you need to realize, that you should never allow anyone to take your mojo away, to disempower you, to try to shut you up or shut you down. And that you don't need to talk bad about somebody else to make yourself feel better or be better. Lift yourself up. Give the world the best of you. Lead by example. I promise you that if you learn to live life differently and to think differently, the sky is no limit. The sky is no limit. Anything you want to say, my love? Ding, 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 ding.
What he said.
So,
I don't want to make your videos longer.
Live, love, and laugh. And watch your life turn around. All right, guys, I love you, but remember to always love yourselves too.